extended family she needed more than ever now that her father was pretty much out of their lives. Caitlin deserved this trip. They both did. Visits to Wyoming had been too rare thanks to Emma's demanding schedule. It had been 2 years. The time had just slipped by. Emma picked up her datebook and thumbed through the pages. Appointments and court appearances jammed every page. She took out a pen, not a pencil that could be erased when second thoughts set in, and circled the weekend of the reunion. She made a note by tomorrow's date to have her secretary cancel everything for that Wednesday through Sunday. Even though the 4th of July holiday was only a few days later, she couldn't quite bring herself to take an entire week off. Well, 5 days was better than nothing, and considerably more than the occasional day she snatched for herself. 5 whole days away from her job, away from Denver. The thought boggled her mind. Best of all, she would get to see her dearest friends, the indomitable Calamity Janes, so named for their penchant for trouble and heartache, who could make her laugh and remind her of who she'd been before work had become an obsession. It would be good to get some perspective, some balance back into her life. If anyone could help her accomplish that, Lauren, Karen, Cassie, and Gina could. It was ironic, really, that 5 women could be so different and yet have so much in common. Lauren was now a Hollywood superstar, Karen a rancher. Cassie was a struggling single mom. Gina a gourmet chef with her own restaurant in New York. Yet they shared a history, a friendship that had weathered time and separation. The last time they had all been together had been at Emma's law school graduation. Since then, they'd stayed in touch through occasional phone calls, emails, and hastily jotted notes on Christmas cards. But even if the contact had been sporadic, the depth of the bond had never suffered, Emma reflected. These women were her best friends, and though she sometimes neglected them, she treasured the friendships. Lauren, twice divorced herself, had listened endlessly when Emma had gone through her divorce. Cassie had provided a shoulder to lean on as Emma had struggled with the guilt of not having enough time for Caitlin. Happily married Karen had been steady as a rock, offering non-judgmental advice whenever Emma had sought it. And ever since the divorce, Gina had sent periodic care packages of gourmet baked goods to cheer both Emma and Caitlin. But even as anticipation of seeing them began to stir inside her, Emma sighed as she thought of the work that would be waiting for her on the following Monday. For once, though, she couldn't let that matter. The truth was that the work could wait. She was not indispensable. She had more money than she had time to spend it. So did the partners at her firm. A few less billable hours would hardly ruin her fast-track career. Who knew when a chance like this would come along again? The prospect of seeing the Calamity Janes was too good to pass up. The usual dread of listening to her mother grumble that she hadn't been eating right actually brought a smile to Emma's lips for once, and knowing that her father would likely remind her that she was brilliant and beautiful and worth loving, well, that was something she'd been needing to hear ever since her divorce. Even though the breakup had been for the best, even though Kit had proved himself to be a world-class jerk, the divorce had been a blow to Emma's self-esteem. A high achiever from grade school on, she'd never expected to fail at anything. Pleased with her resolve to take a much-needed break, she could hardly wait to tell Caitlin. She could already imagine the rare, shy smile that would light up her daughter's face. Unfortunately, she could also envision the child's hesitancy, her reluctance to believe that the trip would actually happen. "I won't let you down, baby," she vowed as she flipped off the light and headed for her home office, where she had another hour's worth of paperwork to get through before bedtime. Not this time. This trip was going to be all about relaxation, laughter, family, and friends. Nothing was going to interfere with that. Nothing at all. Chapter 1. Ford Hamilton stared at the computer screen on which the front page of the weekly Winding River News was laid out.